16 past 7 on KSFO. Brian Sussman with you, and former Congressman Joseph DioGuardi joins us right now on the program, author of Unaccountable Congress, and by the way, president of Truth in Government. Congressman, thanks for joining us out here on the left coast. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. Thank you for getting me back on.
Well,
going on. I hope you saw the article in USA Today about the national debt being $62 trillion when you count the unfunded entitlements and liabilities, and here we're talking about the debt ceiling of $14.3 trillion. That's like a fifth of it. We've got so many liabilities that are coming due that our government disguises by not having a good set of books, and that's why I wrote the first book, Unaccountable Congress, in '92, as the first practicing CPA ever elected to Congress, and I just reissued it. You know, we got to get off this Wiener nonsense. I know you're concerned, and everybody's saying, oh, what about this guy Wiener? Being distracted by Edwards, by Wiener. These people are dumb. They're stupid. Poor judgment. Let them be judged by now the voters if they're still in office. Let Edwards be judged by his legacy. I mean, but if we don't focus on what's going on in America right now, China has a plan, Brian. We have no plan.
And
we've run out of money. I just heard this morning we got to borrow another $66 billion today. And guess who the buyer is? China. Why would China buy our debt? Because they need our market. But once they don't need our market and they develop an internal economy, which they're going to do, then we are toast. And that's going to happen in 10 years, by my calculation, and other certified public accountants. But ask me about Wiener if you want.
Okay. Well, first of all, Congress, we love having you on the broadcast, and I did. It's interesting. About 20 minutes ago here, about a half hour ago here on KSFO, I did share that front page story from the USA Today regarding, $61 trillion. And I'm thinking, okay, how can we break down $61 trillion? Well, when you tell folks that's $534,000 per household owed, that's when, Congressman, that's when people start to sort of get it. This is huge.
It is huge, and I put this in the introduction of my book, the new one that came out in December, and I calculated 69,000 a person.
Wow.
I did it by taxpayer, which is almost equal to households, not by citizens. We have 304 million citizens, but we have approximately 100 million taxpayers, which approximates households, so those numbers are similar. But we haven't been focusing on those numbers. Why is this happening? Just read the article in USA Today, and you'll see that we're going to have the actuaries, and you got to believe actuaries like you believe certified public accountants. Enrollment in Medicare alone will grow 48 million from 48 million in 2010 to 64 million in 2020 and 81 million in 2030. What's the bottom line? There's a 33 million increase in the next 20 years in people wanting their benefits. These are baby boomers. And that compares with 13 million in the last 20 years. This is why we are so unsustainable in the future. And our politicians today are arguing, I don't want to budge on this, I don't want to budge on that. And we're heading for a wall. And it's a shame.
And, the truth is, we've had a lot of fun with the Anthony Weiner story this morning, and I am getting a lot of emails saying, Sussman, this is a distraction. You've got to focus on the real issues here. And I get all that because, again, unless somebody shores things up, Congressman, we've got a situation that is completely unsustainable. So you tell me, I mean, you're the numbers guy. You're the CPA. You're the former congressman. You're the guy who has written some great books on this issue, and I'm thinking of your book, Unaccountable Congress. You tell me where America is going to be in, let's just say, 10 years if we just go about business as usual.
Okay. And by the way, if people want to hear more about this, they can get that book on the website Truth in Government or on Amazon.com.
Excellent.
Here's where we're going to go. I mean, you cannot fight the numbers, Brian. And this is the thing that's going to kill us. Are you ready? They expect this is now Obama projecting that our bonded debt, you know what the bonded debt is? That's what we're talking about on the debt ceiling today. Treasury bills, Treasury bonds, Treasury notes, what we're selling to the public, to China, and what we're putting in the Social Security Trust Fund and the Medicare Trust Fund. That number, right now, as we speak today, that's the debt ceiling, $14.3 trillion. That number Next year is going to be 16.4 because we're projecting another deficit on the books. I'm not talking about the unfunded liabilities and entitlements. Another 1.1 trillion. But guess what Obama says? By 2017, expect the bonded debt to be $20 trillion, a nice round number. Now, what's the problem with that? We know that the Fed has nowhere to go. Did you listen to the Fed president from Dallas this morning? He was on Squawk Box. I heard him. We cannot go for another quantitative easing. We've got too much liquidity out there already. We're afraid of inflation. Already commodity prices are going up, and we may have created that by too much liquidity. So we have no end game anymore from the Fed except to sit here and watch now fiscal policy. What's the end game on that? Pure political nonsense. Am I going to get reelected? Obama now wants to raise $1 billion. He doesn't want to discuss what Ryan wants to discuss, bending the curve in the next 10 years. Why is that important? The interest on the national debt, and this is not a number that is just theoretical. If interest rates go to 6%, as I believe they will in the next 5 years, you cannot have this much liquidity and not have inflation. Look at Jimmy Carter. We had 21% prime rate. It was called stagflation, a stagnant economy, which we now see, and inflation. If it goes to 6%, and God willing we keep it down to 6%, you're talking about maybe $1 trillion in interest alone.
Wow.
And a lot of that's going to go to China. And they'd be very happy to get it. You know why? They are now investing in the less developed countries. And guess what they're getting back? They're getting back the raw earths they need, the titaniums, the chromiums. They're even buying from Albania, which has the second largest proven supply of chromium in the world next to South Africa. What are we doing? We're sitting here worrying about who's going to get reelected, and why Weiner sent a text message to some woman that he now, says he lied about and now admits to, and now the total press is consumed by this. Not this issue. We're on fire. We're on fire. Ask the certified public accountants. And when you read that article, Brian, today in the USA Today, they were wrong. They're saying, well, we took this off the statements that are signed by the U.S. Treasury and by the Comptroller General, the audited statements. No, those are not audited. In fact, if you read the statements, they're 118 pages. I have to read those because I get these questions as a CPA. They say these are not audited. Why? The military doesn't have a set of books that we can understand and put together. And the military is a big part of our problem right now when it comes to the fiscal deficits. So we're not audited. And even if they were audited, Brian, it would be inside auditors, not Pricewaterhouse or Ernst & Whitty or the outside guys, which they should have. Then you would be able to trust the numbers. We've got numbers today that are controlled by politicians who want to get reelected. That's their sole motivation. And if we don't change the political system, we are going down like Rome did. We are in trouble. China is moving strategically, doing the right things, using our money, and we're sitting here worried about who's going to win the next election.
Congressman, your website, of course, is truthingovernment.org. That's where you can go to get Joseph DioGuardi's great book, Unaccountable Congress. All the best to you, sir. Look forward to having you back on very soon.